Laipply podcast.
The question is, is this like a new normal?
Andrew, there's no new normal, and I can tell you that I actually don't read the New York Times anymore. That sometimes I do watch CNBC, but occasionally people send me articles, and there's just this fever swamp. And you're now a pop historian with 1929, and in 20, 30, 40, 50 years. The New York Times is no longer the paper of record. You can't go. I read this article. President Trump is slowing down. President Trump's mental capacity. It is 100% fake. That he only called me twice at 2 a.m. last week, instead of 3 times.
You're saying he called you? I believe that he called you at 2 or 3 in the morning.
That whole narrative. You had what was one of the greatest scandals of all time. That the coverage of the Biden administration, Joe Biden's diminished capacity, and the cover-up.
And that's why it's probably fair to raise these questions.
Where was the New York Times? We just had a 3-hour cabinet meeting yesterday, Andrew. For 10 months, the Biden administration did not have a cabinet meeting. How are you going to invoke the 25th Amendment if the cabinet secretaries never see the president, which they didn't? That I hear from people in the Treasury building that I see President Trump more in a day than my predecessor saw Joe Biden in half a year.
Under the Trump administration, $70 billion are now being invested in the American auto industry. Ford has announced it will invest $5 billion across its Kentucky and Michigan plants. Is that a correct statement?
That's right.
That's a lot, $5 billion. You could do more. Creating at least 4,000 new jobs. Stellantis announced that it will invest $13 billion to expand its U.S.-based manufacturing by more than 50% and open new manufacturing facilities across the country. And I think a big part of that is also the tariffs. Because of tariffs, they're coming in, not only the automobile industry, AI, we're leading China in AI, we're leading everybody in AI, we're leading everybody and everything. We have the hottest country right now. I will tell you, a lot of political people behind me, great political people, very successful political people. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world. 1 year ago, we had a dead country, and now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And it started from November 5th, but it also started when we did the tariffs, and we've had tremendous support on the tariffs. It's bringing in trillions of dollars of wealth. It's bringing in national security, and I've stopped 8 wars, and of the 8 wars, 5 of them have been because of tariffs and trade, so they're very important. And General Motors plans to invest $4 billion as it brings its manufacturing back to the United States from Mexico. The man operating the auto pen, and I'm sure there are more than one, because I think some of the people can operate it themselves, some of the high-level people operate it themselves. They would just go in and sign his name with an auto pen onto very important documents, not only pardons, but policy, maybe CAFE standards, okay, as an example. Who signed CAFE? If you ask Biden what's a CAFE standard, he would have absolutely no idea. He'd say, where is the CAFE located? The guy didn't know anything. Today, my administration has taken historic action to lower costs for American consumers, protect American auto jobs, and make buying a car much more affordable for countless American families and also safer. We're officially terminating Joe Biden's ridiculously burdensome, horrible, actually, CAFE standards that imposed expensive restrictions and all sorts of problems, gave all sorts of problems to automakers. And we're not only talking about here, we're talking about outside of our country, because nobody could do it. Nobody wanted to do it, and it was ridiculous, very expensive. It put tremendous upward pressure on car prices, combined with the insane electric vehicle mandate. Biden's burdensome regulations helped cause the price of cars to soar more than 25%. And in one case, they went up 18% in 1 year. Today, we're taking one more step to kill the Green New scam. It's part of the greatest scam, probably, well, other than Russia, and a few others I could name. The greatest scam in American history, the Green New scam, and it's a quest to end the gasoline-powered car. This is what they wanted to do, even though we have more gasoline than any other country by far. And people want the gasoline car. They want everything. They want electric. They want any They want to have lots of alternatives, but they do want the gasoline car. Right now, it's leading away by a lot. The car business is a very interesting business, but we want to keep it that way.
He's always been a racist, a bigot, a xenophobic, and Islamophobic. We know that he called African nations a shithole in his first administration. We know that when he came down that escalator, he said he was going to stop Muslim immigration into this country. And so it is not surprising that he is going after black immigrants in this country. And it's certainly not surprising that he's choosing a black immigrant community that is also Muslim. But what I would like to say is that most of us are citizens. On our passport, it says we are nationals of this country. We love that Minnesota has welcomed us. Many of us have not been settled in Minnesota. We chose it as a home because the Minnesota people and the state is beautiful and very welcoming. And we are going to be here regardless of what the president has to say.
I agree. I love the tweet.
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. We should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men.
They have a representative, Ilhan Omar, who they say married her brother. That's a fraud. She tries to deny it now, but you can't really deny it because, it just happened. She shouldn't be allowed to be a congresswoman, and I'm sure people are looking at that. And she should be thrown the hell out of our country. And most of those people, they have destroyed Minnesota, okay? Minnesota, you have an incompetent governor. You have a crooked governor. He's crooked as hell, but he's incompetent. Walz he should be ashamed. That beautiful land, that beautiful state. And all they do is complain, complain, complain. You have her. She's always talking about the Constitution provides me with... Go back to your own country and figure out your Constitution. All she does is complain about this country. And without this country, she would not be in very good shape. She probably wouldn't be alive right now. So Somalia is considered by many to be the worst country on earth. I don't know. I haven't been there. I won't be there anytime soon, I hope. But what Somalia, what the Somalian people have done to Minnesota is not even believable. It's not even believable. And a lot of it starts with the governor.
All right, Wednesday night, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody's ready for Boat Hoax, show number 2 on the Boat Hoax. Just another one of the long litany of hoaxes that we have inflicted upon us by the globalist left and, of course, the Democratic Party. You can just name them all, can't you? I mean, you just think about it for just a moment, whether it's the collusion hoax, impeachment hoax 1, impeachment hoax 2, all of COVID, all of vaccinations, climate change. Let's see, phone call impeachment hoax, the J6 hoax, Russian bounty hoax, suckers and losers hoax. And one of the worst things about this? I'll get to it in a minute. Of course, as usual, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Is that people still can't see. I'm not talking about those of us that are red-pilled. I'm talking about the Rand Pauls of the world who's now against Trump and believes that there should be an investigation on this whole boat hoax situation. Let me say it to everybody in the chat real quick. Let me see here. General Plowman is on. Adels BE is on. Lisa Kinzer is on. Greg Ninemon is on. Peg McGroin is on. Big Scott 1 is on. JGCK is on. JD Joy is on. Let's see here. Guitar Glenn is on. Big Scott 1 is on. USA Abby Girl is on. Trev McGroin is on. Keeper 1376 is on. Scooter Magruder is on. Richard Perry's on. Mike Griffith is on. Tim L. T-Bird is on. Granite 2468 is on. Jeannie Malfeasy is on. USA 1 Mike is on. Luann 5 is on. Let me see here. Scrolling down here. Okay. Let me try to find somebody new here. Oh, R Star 77 is on. Jules 21 Hours is on. Let me see here. Scrolling down. Cap Cliff 525 is on. Let me see here. TJT1 is on. N Johns 127 is on. Les Cruz Brown is on. Conservative Waffle is on. Leon Fish Puppy is on. Veronica 18201 is on. Judy Anita is on. Scrolling down. LA 106 Times is on. Prayer Works 2 is on. Those Jesus People is on. Mobetta 01 is on. Still scrolling down. Blade Runner is on. Let me grab one or two more here. Confederate 1 is on. K4. VMS is on. Let me see here. Laura Jean Lynn is on. Uncle Wally is on. K4 VMS is on. Snod 311 is on. Let me grab one more. Let me see here. One I haven't seen yet. Scrolling down. Man, there's a lot of names on here. Let me see here. Grabbing one more if I can find one more. Charlie 340, there we go, is on. Love you guys. Appreciate each and every one of you. Let me hop right to it. At Chicago One Ray video. Now here is excess. Of course, let me go over this just real quick. And I know that I get overly wonky, but everybody please understand the timeline. You have the Mark Kelly, Alyssa Slotkin, the Seditious Six video that was put out. Everybody remembers that. We, of course, covered it ad nauseum, so does everybody else. Now, that was put out. Now, the boat incident where allegedly, although we watched the video and they said initially said 11 people were on the boat. Now, of course, that's all disappeared. So the initial lie always ends up transitioning into a new lie, because the Dems love to use the word transition. But anyway, so the boat incident occurred in September. Isn't the timing very strange here? So you have the Seditious Six come out about 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, and they come out and they start saying to the military, don't follow unlawful orders. It's almost as if all of this was orchestrated because they already knew about this boat video when they made that. When the Seditious Six made their video, they already knew that they were going to then use the boat video to give credibility to their Seditious Six video, because the boat video is 3 months before the Seditious Six video. So that's exactly what has happened here. They knew they were going to have some event. This is all, believe me, this is all orchestrated by deep State Department. I thought Trump Trump puts in his people, but there are career establishment, quote unquote, Republicans that are not Republicans. They're globalist, leftist, pro-abortionist, bourgeois elitist who always vote Democrats, but they always vote Democrat, but they have R's in front of their names so that they continue to be part of Republican administrations. Republicans don't do that. You can say what you want about Republicans. Believe me, I am no fan of the Republican Party, even though I'm a member of the Republican Party. I am a big fan of the Republican platform, but not the party. But Republicans don't do that. We really don't secrete ourselves into establishment Democratic circles or establishment DC. Everybody and notice, allegedly there's 30 or 40% of establishment DC is Republican, but 95% of the constituency of DC voted for Joe Biden. So how does that work out? If we're allegedly 40% of establishment DC, then how is it that Joe Biden received 95 to 98% of the vote in DC? Of course, because it is totally, completely Democratic, including all those who call themselves Republicans. They simply call themselves Republicans so that we don't elect actual Republicans. That's why you'll see them, whether it's Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, or anybody else, you will see them vote or speak Republicanism or conservatism. You'll see them occasionally confirm a quote-unquote conservative justice or conservative federal judge that ends up voting against us when the timing's right. Ever notice that? Because hardly anybody outside of people like you and I, the legitimate conservative constituency, are actually conservatives. We are represented by members of the Democratic Party. The state of Texas is the living embodiment of what I'm talking about right now, because everybody in Texas is red. but yet they are represented in Austin, Texas, which is completely and totally blue, by Republicans that are actually, and I don't mean that they are limp-wristed Republicans or cuckboy Republicans or rhinos even. They are actually Democrats. That is the way that it is. And that's what you're seeing here. And that's why you're not seeing, where's the rush to protect Hegseth here? And I just state this to everybody. If Hegseth goes down, Trump's done. He's done. I'm not saying that he's going to prison or anything else, but he's done. His ability to effectuate his agenda's plan, it's over. And they will impeach him numerous times if the Democrats take the House in 2026, which I'm praying they do not. But anyway, so everybody sees the timeline. They did that video. The Seditious Six did that video predicated on the boat video. They already knew it. This was already in intel circuits in the House and the Senate. And people like Alyssa Slotkin are CIA operatives. They were already in the CIA. And Mark Kelly, want to talk about a very suspicious individual in and of himself. Well, he's prior military, so all suspicion is lifted off him. Really? I mean, John McCain, all suspicion will be off John McCain or anybody who has military credibility. I love the military. I was raised in a military house. My dad was a career naval officer. I love the military. However, just because I've met some real dillweeds that are members of the military. Will, who fought in a war for the Marine Corps, just said, I guarantee you, he would go around and say, it's just like cops. There's a lot of dillweed cops. Dillweed tech people, dillweed worship leaders, dillweed pastors, dillweed. I mean, we could go, around the world. But anyway, so let's break this down. Now, here is Hegseth's response to it. And by the way, again, no video footage yet. No, there's no proof of this at all, except for the reliable Democracy Dies in the Darkness Washington Post, which I actually posted on them, on their Twitter page today, that they are the darkness that democracy dies in, even though they say democracy dies in the darkness. But anyway, at Chicago One Ray video, Pete Hegseth is hands down in this Chicago One Ray, the man for the job. Play for me.
I wish everybody could be in the room watching our professionals like Mitch Bradley, Admiral Mitch Bradley, and others at JSOC and SOCOM and other commanders. The deliberative process, the detail, the rigorous, the intel, the legal, the evidence-based way that we're able to, with sources and methods that we can't reveal here, that make sure that every one of those drug boats is tied to a designated terrorist organization. We know who's on it, what they're doing, what they're carrying. All these white bales are not Christmas gifts from Santa. This is drugs running on four-motor fast boats or submarines that we've also struck. No one's fishing on a submarine. And I have empowered them to make that call. Now, the first couple of strikes, as any leader would want, you want to own that responsibility. So I said, I'm going to be the one to make the call after getting all the information and make sure it's the right strike. That was September 2nd. There's a lot of intelligence that goes into that, building that case and understanding that, a lot of people providing information. I watched that first strike live. As you can imagine, at the Department of War, we got a lot of things to do. So I didn't stick around for the hour and 2 hours, whatever, where all the sensitive site exploitation digitally occurs. So I moved on to my next meeting. A couple of hours later, I learned that commander had made which he had the complete authority to do. And by the way, Admiral Bradley made the correct decision to ultimately sink the boat and eliminate the threat. He sunk the boat, and eliminated the threat. And it was the right call. We have his back, and the American people are safer because narco-terrorists know you can't bring drugs through the water and eventually on land if necessary to the American people. We will eliminate that threat, and we're proud to do it.
So you didn't see any survivors, to be clear, after that first strike? You personally?
I did not personally see survivors, but I stand, because the thing was on fire. It was exploded and fire and smoke. You can't see anything. You got digital. This is called the fog of war. This is what you in the press don't understand. You sit in your air-conditioned offices or up on Capitol Hill and you nitpick and you plant fake stories in the Washington Post about kill everybody, phrases on anonymous sources not based in anything, not based in any truth at all. And then you want to throw out really irresponsible terms about American heroes, about the judgment that they made. I wrote a whole book on this topic because of what politicians and the press does to warfighters. President Trump has empowered commanders to do what is necessary, which is dark and difficult things in the dead of night on behalf of the American people. We support them, and we will stop the poisoning of the American people.
Now, I'm never lock, stock, and barrel in anybody because I believe in the fallibility of human beings. That's just the way that it is. So you shouldn't be lock, stock, and barrel into anybody. What you should be lock, stock, and barrel into is Jesus, and he is the Word of God. But anyway, Pete Hegseth is the living embodiment of a threat to the globalist left because there is a big, giant plan to overthrow Donald Trump, which we're going to get into in just a moment. And in order for them to get to Trump, you have to own the Pentagon. They always talk insurrection. How in the world is a fat 59-year-old MAGA dad with a beer belly the size of a beach ball going to defeat the United States Marine Corps on J 6th? The insurrection. How's this guy who cannot even run 10 feet going to defeat our military? They can't. That's why it's never an insurrection unless you have a Turkish-style insurrection, which they usually have every 10 to 15 years. Look at the country of Turkey. They have a military insurrection. In order for you to take over a government, you must own the military. That's just the way that it is. So that is really the plan. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to launch F-15s, as Biden liked to illustrate, on the American citizenry. But if you can own the military via covert operatives inside of the Pentagon and get rid of Hegseth, then you put in who? Who are they going to put in? Oh, they're going to find one of their glorious little cuck boys that they will put in. Boy, I mean, if I have time to get to Minnesota tonight, I'm going to illustrate to you in detail what a cuck boy looks like. The cuck boy police chief of Minneapolis, St. Paul. Of course, the cuck boy mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Fry. All these guys. They will, literally, they are nothing more, than bent over cuck boys. That's what they are. They will do anything. They will prostrate themselves before anything or anybody so they can hold on to their jobs. So maybe they can get popular, so that they can get some clicks. Maybe they can make some money. They'll do anything. Little whores that they are. But the thing is, Pete Hegseth is not that. You say what you want. People talk about his partying and his divorce or whatever and all that stuff. And I don't like any of that stuff either. But he holds the line. He doesn't change. He hasn't wavered. Trump likes him. And there are all kinds of, this is how it works. And everybody knows this. If you're working a job, you've worked in an office, Will's been a Marines, Aaron's worked in an office, all of us have worked, we know. There's all kinds of voices around Trump right now in his administration telling him to get rid of Pete Hegseth. Do you know why? Because they actually are working against Trump as part of the Trump administration. I'm talking about people close to him.
Yep.
They're telling them to get rid of Hegseth right now. That was the whole, Aaron, what's that called again? Signal, right? Signal with Mike Waltz.
Yep.
That was the whole point of that. Signalgate. That was the whole point of that, was to get him overthrown then, but Trump wouldn't fall for it. They were going after Hegseth then. How could you allow this to happen? He didn't allow anything. It was Mike Waltz who did it. Mike Waltz was the one who did it. But anyway, I digress. So here's just a couple little side notes on this. First of all, when you see the first strike, in which we watched in detail, if you were on fire from a hellfire missile and you're on fire, why wouldn't anybody be jumping overboard? Allegedly, there's these survivors holding on to a boat that's on fire. How would you hold on to a boat that's on fire? Again, everybody, it's like harkening back to COVID. If you believe that COVID is real, then where are all the freaking bodies? There never was. People can lie all day long. I know somebody. You don't know anybody who died of COVID. You may know somebody who went into the hospital with symptoms of COVID that was then given organ shut down remdesivir, and then they died of COVID. They didn't die of COVID. They died of organ failure brought on by remdesivir. If I could spend an hour on that, I got to get off. Because it's all that stuff pops into my mind like 100 miles an hour. I could talk about COVID now for Aaron, how long? I don't know.
2 hours.
2
at
hours
least.
straight. Just go on.
Yeah.
Whatever. Vaccine trials. It's all popping into my head. But anyway.
Don't do it.
I won't do it. I'm not going to do it. Got to stay on this. But anyway. So if you have a vessel on fire, and by the way, what else could these vessels be? You have idiots like Rand Paul. And he always would never, ever do Democrats defect. But lo and behold, here comes Rand Paul, who I used to like. And he's just going further and further and further down the ladder. What else could these boats be, Rand? Okay, I'll use this example. If your wife, you follow your wife because you think she's cheating on you, and you follow her and see her meet up with a guy in a hotel parking lot, and they hug, They go into the hotel. Say it's like a motel, the ones that are right on the road, so you can see it's coming in and out. They go in there for 2 hours, and then she comes out, and they hug again and get in the car. You don't know she was committing adultery. I mean, they're going through the Caribbean in speedboat submarines with packages on them. But Rand Paul says you don't know who they are. Okay, that's what I mean by cuck boys. Because if it was Rand Paul's wife, she would come out and say, I didn't do it. She smells like the guy's cologne. Ugh. She is, let's say, ruffled, discombobulated, whatever it may be. And then she was in a hotel alone with a guy for 2 hours. But Rand Paul and others like him would go, okay, honey, and the Minneapolis police chief and Jacob Fry and all these cuck boys, they would actually say, oh, okay. And the wife would start screaming at them, and they'd be like, oh. And it doesn't matter, like, chief of police in Minneapolis, he's all like, he's jacked, he's got like big arms, he works out hard, and he thinks that takes away from his cuckness. Doesn't help. You're still a cuck boy. Mm-hmm. Still a cuck boy. You will still bend over and spread your hairy butt cheeks for whatever turkey baster will keep you in power. That's who you are. You're a disgusting human being. You're a whore, prostitute, whore. So anyway, but according to people like Rand Paul, we don't really know who that. What could a speedboat in the middle of nowhere with 4 outboards that can go as partially submersible? What else could it be, Rand? What else could it be? You had Patrick Byrne, who's CIA operative, an intel operative. CIA hasn't been assigned to him, but that's probably what he was or is. He said basically all the boats that are coming in that area are all drug boats. What else could it be? When your wife walks out of the Holiday Inn with a man kissing him, they've been in the room alone for 2 hours. You watch them walk in. Her dress is all ruffled, and it looks like she took it off to put it back on. But I don't know. She's screaming at Rand in the bar. I didn't do it. How dare you? How dare you? Or you find your wife or your husband sexting on the phone, or you find that he has sent D pics to a woman and she sent back boob pics to him, and she starts screaming at you, or he starts screaming at you, whichever one it is, starts screaming at you for daring to look at their phone. That's Rand Paul. I mean, that's everybody who's even questioning this. What else could it be? What else could it be? And then to say, well, there's survivors. First of all, who cares? Who cares if there's survivors? I mean, let me ask you this. So what's the difference? You have Leon Panetta, former defense secretary, and of course, all the same. Herbert Walker Bush, CIA president. Leon Panetta, CIA, defense secretary, secretary of state. That's all the same because they're all part of the globalist, leftist, anti-American elite who want to see America destroyed. Leon Panetta's coming out. He wants prosecutions. Leon Panetta is responsible for the drone deaths of tens of thousands of people. One example, credit Alex Jones, is they blew up an entire wedding to get one person. So they killed 300 people at a wedding. I don't know the numbers. I'm just saying it was an entire wedding. So it's numerous people to get one terrorist. So how is that any different? How is that if they were holding on to a boat that's on fire? Anybody ever try to hold on to anything on fire? Okay, it's impossible. You won't. So anyway, how is that any different to then blow up the narco terrorists that are holding onto the boat? Which we're going to dispel that entire myth here via Laura Loomer and Megyn Kelly in just a second. But I'm just saying, just pretend. Let's all pretend for a minute, because that's what you have to do to actually coherently listen to a Democrat. You have to pretend that they're making any sense whatsoever, which they aren't. Pretend that they are there. How is that any different than Leon Panetta blowing up the bride, the bridegroom, the wedding party, every attendee at a wedding? How's that any different? Is that any different? Am I missing something, Aaron?
No.
Will?
No. Nope.
Okay. You're blowing up innocence, right? I mean, to me, it's even worse because there's people at that wedding that, listen, you're talking about George Bush, Herbert Walker Bush, Obama, Panetta, countless others that if I sat for a minute could think of. These people are responsible for millions of deaths, including tens of thousands of Americans. Where's the uproar for Obama's, where's the uproar for Bill Clinton's aspirin factory attack? How's that any different? Remember Bill Clinton's aspirin factory attack that he said was terrorist? So all the people that worked in the aspirin factory are dead. How's that any different? Isn't that even worse? What about Joe Biden's drone attack in response to Abbey Gate that killed a family of 10 because the father was transporting water? And they said that, well, why was there so much collateral damage? Well, because of the all of the weaponry all of the weaponry and ammunition. They didn't know ammunition. That was all a lie. 10 family of 10 dead, 7 which are children dead. Where's the outrage? I'm just curious. I mean, where is it? None. Where's Rand Paul? I didn't see him. Did you? I mean, you're starting to think, Rand Paul, is he one of those people that wears an R so that a legitimate R never takes his place? Because that's it. We are all supposed to believe that our representatives in Washington, D.C., who have an R in front of their name are representing us. No, most of them have an R in front of their name so that we don't put a legitimate R there. And they never come. Why does Rand Paul actually never come through? Anybody notice that? Never actually comes through. Weird, isn't it? But anyway, so I just the entire story is, and again, it comes from the Washington Post from unnamed sources, and there's yet to be any video footage of anybody diving off the boat. They were hit with a Hellfire missile. Okay, nobody survived that. And when we've seen it all on fire, and we sat there and watched it last night, it's all on fire, and nobody's jumping off the boat. So how is there a survivor? And that's exactly what Hegseth said. All right, Alex Jones video, breaking exclusive. This is a 6-minute video. Laura Loomer gives new details of the deep state's attempted coup. Play it for me.
All right. She just joined us for 5-6 minutes, and she's going to join us again coming up in the next hour. She's got to break away and go to another meeting with more intel on this. Investigative journalist, Trump confidant, longtime investigative reporter and friend of mine, Laura Loomer, has broken major news about an ongoing coup inside the Pentagon to remove Hegseth, claiming war crimes with no evidence, ahead of all the investigations coming out next week that he was ordered to do against Biden and others for the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan and more. This is all highly coordinated to give us a first snapshot look at how urgent this is. If they can clear the way to get control of the Pentagon, then they're clear for their full Podesta plan coup. But Laura Loomer, at Laura Loomer on X, posted a detailed breakdown. But just to give us a snapshot of this, and she'll be joining us again in about 30 minutes in the second hour. Laura, thank you for coming on. This is very urgent. I just wanted to get this out right now. Give us a boil down.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me on, Alex. People can review this report on my X account, and I broke a story the other day, the first day of the Pentagon press corps orientation, about this coup against Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. And my sources, high-level sources here inside the Pentagon, have told me that the stories that are being planted against Secretary of War Hegseth are coming from inside Secretary of Army Dan Driscoll's office. And if people have been following my reporting over the last few months, they know that I have, called out the Army Secretary multiple times for, some of his behavior since he has been the Army Secretary, including going jogging with Eugene Vindman, one of the architects of the impeachment against President Trump. He colluded with his brother, Alexander Vindman, as you know, also to highlighting and platforming a Medal of Honor recipient who spoke while in his uniform at the DNC convention in 2016, bashing President Trump. And we know that's a violation. You're not supposed to engage in partisan political behavior while you're in uniform. And so, every single time that I have called the Army Secretary out, I've been told, oh, well, he's a nice guy. He's friends with J.D. Vance. He went to law school. He went to Yale with J.D. Vance. Well, he keeps on having these faux pas, right? These little, what we call like a whoopsie daisy, right? Well, I'll do better next time. I'll do better next time. He was recently on an interview with Dasha Burns of Politico, and they asked him about Pete Hegseth's gender requirements here at the Department of War, and how he's opposed to women serving in combat. And when the Army Secretary was asked about this, he said, well, I was in the woods, I was in training with men and women, and I couldn't tell a difference between a man and a woman. I mean, he literally said that. It's completely in violation of, the new Department of War standards combating wokeism. And so now it's even more concerning to find out that individuals in the Army Secretary's office who, want Dan Driscoll to assume the role of Secretary of War are planting these stories. Now, upon my investigation, I discovered that Dan Driscoll is very good friends with Maggie Goodlander, one of the seditious six, ironically, right? I mean, this is a woman who is in the Navy. She's a Democrat member of Congress in New Hampshire, encouraging members of the armed services to not comply with orders from the commander in chief. And the Army Secretary is friends with this woman. It's a little disturbing, in my opinion. Who is she married to? She is married to Jake Sullivan, the former Biden national security advisor, who was recently stripped of his security clearance by the Trump administration for his involvement in Russiagate. And so, you have to ask yourself, why is the Army Secretary associated with people like Jake Sullivan and Maggie Goodlander? Why is it that Pete Hegseth barely got confirmed in front of the Senate because the Democrats viciously opposed him, but the Democrats unanimously supported Dan Driscoll? Why is it that the Democrats hate Pete Hegseth, but the Democrats love Dan Driscoll? I mean, Jake Sullivan was literally a reference for his Senate confirmation hearing. And a couple of weeks later, he had his security clearance revoked by the president for engaging in treasonous behavior. And Jake Sullivan's wife, Maggie Goodlander, gave a $2,800 max donation to Army Secretary Dan Driscoll's congressional campaign when he ran for office in North Carolina. And so, I find it to be quite disturbing when you look at the individuals who attended the wedding of Jake Sullivan and Maggie Goodlander. We're talking about Victoria Nuland, the queen of color revolutions, right? Obama put her in charge of the color revolutions in Ukraine. And, well, where's Dan Driscoll? He's in Ukraine, right? Why is it that Dan Driscoll didn't tell anybody at the Department of War that he was going to Ukraine? How come we didn't tell Secretary Hegseth that he was going to Ukraine? I find it to be very bizarre. And if I was Pete Hegseth, I'd put my head on a swivel because, well, they're not getting these planted stories from nowhere. Clearly, people inside the Department of War are working with the deep state and the fake news media to undermine Hegseth because ultimately they want to stage a coup. And this is why it's all coming out at the same time. All the attacks on Secretary of War Hegseth regarding the strikes in Venezuela, the Signalgate report, they want him out because, he is he's what President Trump would call central casting for the warrior spirit or the warrior mentality that we want our members of the armed services to embody here at the Department of War.
See, remember with the Signal hoax, that was all about trying to install Tom Cotton as defense secretary of war. So if I say the wrong one, just understand it's force of habit. That was what that was about, to disqualify Pete Hegseth because of quote unquote incompetence, and then install Tom Cotton, who's a deep state bought and paid for operative. No, he can't be, Tom, because he says conservative things. So what? If you're saying conservative things and we're still $38 trillion in debt and Trump is being criminally prosecuted while you're in power and you say nothing, who are you really? You're on the opposing side. That's what it's really all about. So let me just go over this step by step. Oh, Aaron, you can side by side that the whole time. This is Danny Driscoll. Here's little Danny. Here's little Danny Driscoll right here. Typical. I mean, I guarantee you. He's married to Maggie Goodlander, who is part of the Seditious Six.
Oh.
Yeah, the congresswoman. He's married to the congresswoman who did the video, and he works for Trump. How does this even happen? I mean, who runs the show with the hiring firing? If it's Trump, it's his fault. But nobody says to this person, says to Trump, look at who this person's connected to. And not only that, but look at his face. You know he's a cuck boy. You know that his wife, Maggie Goodlander, orders him around, and he does whatever she tells him to do because he's a cuck boy. And he'll do anything it takes. If he needs to be conservative, he'll be conservative. If he needs to be liberal, he'll be a liberal. If he needs to be pro-choice, he'll be pro-choice. If he needs to be pro-life, he'll be pro-life. Whatever it takes, just like an ARC church, watered-down evangelical pastor. They'll say anything to keep their congregation in place. This is one of these kind of people. They're rudderless souls. They have absolutely no principle rudder at all. But anyway, according to Laura Loomer's research, all of these propaganda stories with the boat hoax are coming now because Mike Waltz's situation failed, and Mike Waltz has been dispatched to be some ambassador to whatever country that was. And that didn't work because they wanted to get Tom Cotton in there, so they have a controllable asset as defense secretary, Secretary of War. So according to Laura Loomer, there's all of these propaganda stories, these stories of hit them again, kill them all. None of that happened. None of it happened. Just like The Russian bounty hoax never happened. Suckers and losers never happened. Collusion never happened. Insurrection never happened. COVID being a pandemic never happened. Vaccine stopping transmission infection never happened. Climate change never happened. None of it ever happened. It's all lies. But Rand Paul doesn't see it again. I mean, how stupid can you be to fall for it again? I mean, if you are Rand Paul, he's pretty decent during COVID. Not perfect. Doesn't know what he's talking about half the time. But anyway. If you are Rand, how do you fall for this again? How do you actually believe a story coming out of the Washington Post when the Washington Post told you that COVID kills 3% of its victims? That told you that the vaccine stops transmission and infection. That tells you that climate change is an existential threat to life. That told you that J6 was an insurrection. That you had legitimate bombing attempts at the RNC and DNC in DC. I mean, how do you fall for it again? Honestly, I don't understand. Don't you? I mean, it comes from your ideological, political, theological, philosophical opponent at the Washington Post. Yet you believe it. It's because Rand Paul's really not. They're really not his opponent. They're their ally, his ally, because he wants to stay in power. He's cuck boy. But this is Danny Driscoll, Secretary of the Army. How does a guy who looks like this become Secretary of the Army? You're like, Tom, you shouldn't judge according to appearance. Well, I agree with that on the whole. But sometimes somebody walks through and like, I can't be the Secretary of the Army, and that's one of them right here. But anyway. Lori Laura Loomer, these stories about the second strike of the boat. And God forbid we kill drug runners. That's a problem. But drone striking weddings with 500 innocent people and could get one, that doesn't matter. I mean, everybody see the conflicting, hierarchical, hypocritical narrative that's being perpetrated by people like Rand Paul and everybody on the left. And by the way, when you always know who you are, but who your adversaries and your allies are, Rand. But anyway, this guy here, let's just go down the list here. He jogs with Eugene Vindman, Alex's brother, who was the perpetrator of the Ukrainian phone call hoax. That's weird, isn't it? That he jogs with Alex Vindman's brother, Eugene Vindman, two biggest dorks on the planet, outside of the Krasensteins. But anyway, he jogs with a devout, as Trump's Secretary of the Army, he jogs with the people who did impeach him. Explain that to me. How does he work for Trump? Fire him and put an interim in there. You don't need a confirmation. Fire him and put an interim in there. There's plenty of them. Allegedly, Aaron sent me this. Allegedly, Susie Wiles and J.D. Vance shows him. Because J.D. Vance went to Yale with him. Fantastic, J.D. Great job. J.D. Now, Susan Wiles is one thing. J.D. Vance, if Trump goes down, J.D. Vance is finished. So you put in somebody who hates your boss, who could take him down. And if he gets taken down, you get taken down because you'll never win. That's who you choose. Somebody hates Trump, who jogs with Eugene Vindman. Because he went to Yale and is friends with J.D. Vance. Great. Driscoll was on an interview with Dasha Burns of Politico. Why is he doing an interview with Politico? I mean, why don't you just do, an interview with the Beijing Post? Voiced his opposition, cuckboy, to excess gender requirements, stating, I was out in the woods conducting, what would you call them, Will? What do you call your
exercise?
What is it?
An exercise?
Exercise. Doing a military exercise out in the woods with all different, the male and female soldiers. And he couldn't tell the difference between male and female soldiers.
Okay.
Again, he'll say anything because his wife demands that he does. and in order for him to keep his job, because he's a whore, he'll say anything to keep his job. He'll say whatever it takes to get a Republican job. He'll say whatever it takes to get a Democrat job. That's who he is. Because he's a cuck boy. You can't tell the difference between male and female. That really is your definitive statement as you give an interview to Politico. All right. Individuals in Driscoll's office want Driscoll in XX place. So there is a actual agenda. There is an actual coup d'etat inside of the Secretary of Army's office trying to replace Pete Excess with Dorco over here. That's what he's trying to orchestrate right now. And he is sending out the stories and the propaganda to do so via the Washington Post. Everybody needs to be in federal prison that's involved in this because it is a legitimate, you want to talk about insurrection. This is an insurrection. Driscoll is friends with Maggie Goodlander. I said married to. That was wrong. He's not married to Maggie Goodlander. He's friends with Maggie Goodlander, who's married to Jake Sullivan. So anyway, Driscoll is friends with Maggie Goodlander, one of the seditious six, who is married to Jake Sullivan. So the person, I mean, Jake Sullivan, who got his security clearance removed by Donald Trump because of his participation in the various hoaxes against Donald Trump, and orchestrated the color revolution of 2014 in Ukraine with Victoria Nuland, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, and Barack Obama. Maggie Goodlander, who's married to that guy, is good friends with the Secretary of the Army under Trump. Well, how could that ever be? I can promise you this. I'm sitting in Foundation Church right now. We have about 1,000 people that come to the church. I have a small staff because I don't want to hire a bunch of people. But I can tell you this, Will's part-time, Aaron's full-time. But neither one of them would work here if we were ideologically opposite. Neither one.
No.
Oh, Tom, you're discriminating. Look at me now. Look at me now. That's correct. Ideologically, I don't care about color. I don't care about race. I don't care about gender. I'm saying, you know, you will align with my belief system or you ain't working here. You think, really, you think I'd have a transgender dude over here doing Aaron's job? That's the equivalent of this. That's the equivalent of this. It's the equivalent of this. You have your ideology. You have somebody. Imagine what Aaron could do to me if he hated me. Right now, what he could do. The entire show shut up. Aaron runs this whole thing. I don't know how to turn the office on. There's one light switch here. That's all I know how to run. Right here, you walk in the office, to your left, there's a light switch. That's it. Everything else, I have no idea. You imagine he could be doing stuff right now and be broadcasting it, and I wouldn't even know he's doing it.
Right, yeah.
I mean, he could be putting out there with me being like, you know, in some sort of amorous homosexual relationship. And he could be broadcasting that right now. I wouldn't even know. I'd be sitting here and he just somehow diverts the broadcast somewhere else. And he's just allowing me to see myself while everybody else sees what he wants them to see.
That's why the views are going up.
Yeah, wow, the views are going skyrocketing. Wow, look at the views. But anyway, so I wouldn't hire somebody who hates me, but yet Trump has.
Yeah. Via
J.D. Vance and Susie Wiles. Susie Wiles, who is an Israeli operative.
Yep.
Come on. I don't listen, I can do a whole show on Israel. I don't care where you stand on Israel for just a moment, but listen to this. You don't put down as your chief of staff an operative from another country. I don't care what country it is.
Yeah.
Israel is not off the table for criticism, not at all. And the whole, you bless Israel, you're blessed, you curse Israel, curse is all a lie because the new Israel is the body of Christ. But anyway.
Yep.
So anyway, Driscoll is friends with Maggie Goodlander, one of the people on the Seditious Six video, with Alyssa Slotkin and Mark Kelly. And she, of course, is married to Jake Sullivan. And Sullivan, of course, was stripped of his national security clearance. Now, Driscoll also was the cuckboy over here. You had Hegseth gets confirmed by like a vote. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. Did Vance have to actually come in and vote on him?
I think so.
I think he did. So he got confirmed by like a vote in the Senate. Weird. Aaron, it's weird. Will, it's weird. Because every Democrat voted for Driscoll to be confirmed. I'm talking about unanimously voted for Driscoll to be confirmed. Isn't that weird? That's kind of weird, isn't it? And Jake Sullivan was a key reference for his confirmation. And at Jake Sullivan's wedding to Maggie Goodlander, one of the Seditious Six, you had Victoria Nuland there, Uma Abedin there, who's now married to Alexander Soros, Hillary Clinton, Lisa Monaco, second in charge of Biden's DOJ, were all at Jake Sullivan's wedding. And now, very strange, and also Maggie Goodlander, who's also a member of Congress, gave her maximum donation of $2,800, which you're allowed to give as an individual, to a particular political campaign. To who? Cuckboy over here, Dan Driscoll, who happened to be running for Congress a few years ago. So you have a guy who Jake Sullivan's wife gave maximum donation to running your army. How is this allowed? And if he has a job by Friday, Trump has failed us. I mean, I'm not running away. I'm not dumping Trump. I'm just saying that is a massive, massive fail. And now, very strangely, at his wedding, at Jake Sullivan's wedding, of which, of course, Mark Driscoll was there, you had Nuland, who overthrew Ukraine, along with Jake Sullivan. And along with Hillary Clinton and everybody else who overthrew Ukraine, duly elected president of Ukraine. Everyone else talks about insurrections. But anyway, I digress. Where's Danny Boy at now? Where's he at now? He's over in the Ukraine without permission from Pete Hegseth.
Huh.
I don't know about right this minute, but he's done that. How'd that happen? That's weird, isn't it? It's almost like he's conducting his own covert operations that are in opposition to the Trump administration, which certainly has not sent many people over to Ukraine. Under the Trump administration, it hasn't been a Mecca-style trip for every single member of the administration to make sure that they go and lick the rear end of Volodymyr Zelensky. All right, on to the next thing here. Big fish video. Another hoax. This is big. Man, it's 9:49. Gosh, dog, freaking crap. I'm getting to nothing again. Slide 3 of, let me think.
31.
The slide 3 of 30. 9:49.
We're not making it. We're not making it.
I'm making it to the end. We're staying to the bitter end tonight. No matter how long it takes, I'm getting to the end of the stack.
The AM special.
So here's another thing. So we know now, okay, just going over it real quick, and I know this is redundant. The whole boat situation, the blowing up of the boat incident occurred 3 months ago in September. Then you had the Seditious 6 video come out to support the video of the boat. That's why it was there, because they knew that they believed that this would give them credibility. And then, of course, they then funneled that information through the Washington Post. When they released, okay, we did our Seditious 6 video. We know about the incident that occurred 3 months ago. Now make up a bunch of lies. This is a color revolution tactic. Send it into the Washington Post, and the Washington Post, via their unknown sources, will say, Hegseth said, kill them all. Hegseth wasn't even in the room, so that's already been debunked. But anyway, so let's look at so were there any survivors? Not on the video that we've seen. Never. If you're on, listen, they're like, where's the second video? Okay, if you're on fire, you're not going to sit there like this. You're going to jump in the water. Mm-hmm. Nobody jumped in the water. We watched the whole thing. So in order for somebody to be in the water, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong on this, because you're a smart guy.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. In order for you to be in the water, wouldn't you actually have to be in the water?
Yeah, you'd think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, because that's what they said is you have survivors in the water, but nobody's in the water. Nobody's holding on to the side of the boat. So we have that. Now, even if there was, let's operate in the delusion of Democrats for just a minute. Big fish video. If there was a survivor, what about this? Another hoax, military engagement expert. Disputed drug boat was in, I thought they were out there fishing in their submersible speedboat.
Right.
But disputed drug boat was in radio contact with other narco traffickers, which is why the second strike happened. And wouldn't that make tactical sense? You're a warfighter.
Absolutely.
Okay, you're sitting there, you've already made an initial strike, and now they're calling for backup. Wouldn't you hit them again so the radio contact stops and they can't lock in on the person's location? Is that what happened? Yes, it is what happened. Play it for me.
Quoted as saying the U.S. military intercepted radio communications from one of the survivors to what the official said were narco traffickers.
Right.
I mean, now that's as clear cut as it comes. Any military commander would order those guys taken out.
Absolutely, because at that point, if that's the intelligence that they have, at that point, it absolutely still does qualify. Because again, by definition, an object that by its use makes an effective contribution to military action. And so, so it was kind of implied by the way that the Washington Post reported it that, the commander believed that they could radio for assistance and have someone come and get the cargo and continue with the mission. But with with going on record now, establishing on the record that yes, there was in fact a radio transmission that was intercepted, then that basically supports the conclusion that that's exactly what the commander believed at the time, and the commander ordered subsequent strikes to destroy the boat because it wasn't destroyed to begin with.
I can't wait for all the retractions. When this investigation that Rand Paul is calling for, you're like, Tom, why are you picking on Rand Paul? Because if you're going to don the name of conservative, then you need to act like a conservative. First of all, why is this even a discussion? It's a drug boat. I don't care if you hit it twice. Go hit it again. I don't care what's happening. I don't care if one of them jumped off and they were floating around in an inflatable orca. Hit him again. That's right. These are people that are perfectly fine with murdering hundreds of thousands of Americans. They have no problem with it. And the people that are actually criticizing this strike on the boat are perfectly fine with murdering tens of thousands of innocent people via drone strikes. How is that any different? Because here, at least, if you say you murder the family of 10, which Biden did, nobody there ever committed a crime. Here, at least you are. If you want to call it murder, you're murdering criminal. There, you're murdering innocent people. And Leon Panetta and Biden and Obama and Lisa Monaco and Jake Sullivan and Hillary Clinton. I mean, let's break out Benghazi, shall we? I wonder how long I could talk about Benghazi. But anyway, so here's Trump. Breaking 9/11, Trump, every boat we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives. Play for me.
I don't know what they have, but whatever they have, we'd certainly release. No problem. You know, we stopped every boat we knock out, we save 25,000 American lives.
That's right.
And if you look at our numbers, the drugs coming in through sea are down 91%. I'm surprised there's 9%. I don't know who's doing the 9%, but it's down 91, and we're going to start very soon on land, and I'm sure you're thrilled.
And he's right. He's right, by the way, because we've had hundreds and hundreds. Under Biden, the average was 100,000 per year of Americans dying of fentanyl overdoses because people don't know they're even taking fentanyl because many drugs are laced with fentanyl, and all of the ingredients of fentanyl are manufactured where? In our geopolitical enemy's own home, China. That's what's happening. So then these boats that, again, Rand Paul, wife's coming out of the Motel 6 in the arms of another, all disheveled, lipstick smeared, hair flat in the back. And Rand Paul, she screams at him saying, I wasn't cheating on you. How dare you invade my privacy? I was in there having a political discussion with this guy. Okay, honey, I'm sorry. You want me to go home and do the dishes? Freaking, oh, man. But anyway, there's no doubt who it was. But anyway, let me show you the genesis behind it all. Gunther Eagleman video. Democrats are praying for a military coup. Here is Senator, an idiot, an app. These people are so moronic, they could not run a lemonade stand. Here's Senator Mark Warner playing for me.
Vice Chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Democratic Senator Mark Warner of Virginia. Senator, thank you for coming on the show. What are some of the questions that you will want answers to from Admiral Bradley tomorrow?
I'm going to want to get answers on what did Pete Hegseth order? Why haven't we seen the whole unedited video? If there's nothing inappropriate here, you could have cleared this up without the Admiral coming in. He's got a great reputation. I respect him. I want to get the truth, and I'm not sure we've had the truth from Hegseth yet. Remember, this is an administration that has treated the uniformed military with unprecedented disrespect when they were all brought to get a pep rally in front of Hegseth and Trump. This is an administration that's fired, uniform generals from the head of the NSA, the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. And I think in many ways, the uniformed military may help save us from this president and his lame people like Hegseth, because I think their commitment is to the Constitution and obviously not to Trump, and I expect Bradley to adhere to that.
Now, let me just go back to Aaron, side by side that right there, if you can. Go back to that, just side by side that picture of Senator of Mark Warner. First of all, if you're going to call somebody lame, okay, you don't want to look like that. You mean, Mark, come on. If we're going to go like looks and things, Mark, please. And he said, of course, Trump disrespected the military. Shall we go? I'm wondering where little Marky was right after Abbey Gate. Right after we left $86 billion of high-tech American military equipment on the ground in Afghanistan for what was the Mujahideen, which is now which is not ISIS, but now is the People's Liberation Army of Afghanistan, which was Al-Qaeda. And nothing for Mark. He said, never in American history have we ever had C-130s having thousands of people run along next to them, grabbing a hold of their landing gear, and the C-130 taking off and dropping from 1,000 feet in the air. Never happened before. Where was Markey? Oh, that's right. He's a whore. So if it's wrong and a Democrat does it, he says nothing. But if he even thinks that it possibly could be wrong and a Republican does it, he says everything, because he's a whore. He's a spineless little worm. That's who he is. And what you hear there is maybe the military can save us. Oh, so now you actually see the plan. Tom, you're sounding awfully conspiratorial. No, we already had, it was the same thing with COVID. You had the COVID first, then you had the vaccinations, ushering in vaccine passports, ushering in the infrastructure for social credit systems and CBDC. That was all the plan, to leverage you into a one world commerce system, a single access point controlled by goobers like this. But you see now the plan behind it. They want to usher in little Danny Driscoll so that he can be, because he's, all you have to do to control cuck boys like Mark Warner, $38 trillion in debt, never does a thing to help America. Danny Driscoll. All you have to do to control people like that is just give them a certain amount of money through NGOs, and they'll do whatever you want because they're whores. They're spineless little whores who have absolutely no cognitive connection to right and wrong. That's the same thing with Mark. Mark will say anything to get the approval of Democratic Party higher up so that he gets to stay being a senator and he gets to stay being a celebrity and he gets to still fund his organizations that say his wife runs. So the campaign donations go directly to his wife. That's who they are. That's who our country is actually run by. And here's the thing. He's talked about the unedited video. Aaron, could you get all the unedited videos, please, of J6? Oh, they have never been released.
Right.
Weird. Mark never said a word about any of that because that would not favor Democrats. So if you are a legitimate, principled human being like you and I are, so when Trump does things wrong, we say Trump does something wrong. I just pointed out last night, this is the worst October, the October that just passed, was the worst fiscal October as far as debts and deficits in the history of the United States. Under my favorite president. Because you know why? I'm not a rudderless ship. I'm not a principleless whore like these guys, like Mark Warner, like Danny Driscoll. I will actually point out right and wrong no matter who it hurts and who it helps. That's the way that it is. Even if, and I just threw up my mouth a little bit, Kamala was president. If she did something right, I would cover it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't avoid it. I wouldn't avoid it if she actually did something right. He wants the unedited video. I would love all the unedited videos that I never got to see to this day. How about some unredacted emails for once from Anthony Fauci? Mm-hmm. How about that? Can I see those, Mark? Where are you? Oh, that's right. When it's Democrats, you have no principles or morals at all. But when it's Republicans, even when they didn't do it, you feign principles and morals to attack them. So let me show you. I'll give you a living example of this from September 28th of 2021 from Western Lensman. Here's Mark Kelly asked the question to CENTCOM Commander McKenzie, who's also a cuckboy moron, about the drone strike that killed 10 innocent people, Aaron, 7 children in Afghanistan. Yeah. Oh, I'm sure Mark Kelly was outraged, right? Because, I mean, they killed 7 innocent people. And by the way, no matter what you say about the guys on the open sea, they're definitely drug runners. Unless you're Rand Paul and you believe your wife coming out of Motel 6 wasn't committing adultery. But anyway, that's who they are. But I'm sure that because here the 7 kids, they're absolutely innocent. How is it that that's better? How is it that all the drone strikes that kill absolutely innocent people, absolutely innocent? Remember Trump when we had our drone was shot down by Iran and he said, well, who shot it down? Where was it shot down from? Found out exactly from the intel. Where it was shot down from, and he asked, how many people will die when we take out that installation that John Bolton wanted to take out? And they said 40. He said, don't do it. It's not worth it. Now, Mark Kelly has absolutely no problem with Hussein Obama, Billy Clinton, everybody else, drone strikes killing hundreds of thousands of people who are completely innocent. These are at least drug runners. So if you want to say anybody was murdered, they're drug runners. But they don't know. How do you line up? If you're a Democrat, you're watching this. How do you line up your morals? When somebody's completely innocent, they can be droned to death, never committed a crime, never done one thing against the United States, but because they're within 20 feet of the target, they get killed. You're fine with that. But the drug runners who are out there on the open seas with fentanyl get hit, and maybe one of them's half alive on the ocean and they get hit again, you have a problem with that. Aaron, can you explain that moral fiber to me?
No.
I would love to understand it. I need to understand. Can you help me?
No, I can't.
Okay, Aaron can't help me.
Do it.
So here's Mark Kelly being outraged, I'm sure, about CENTCOM Commander Kelly killing 10 innocent people. I'm sure he's outraged by it because he's outraged that these drug runners didn't get a second chance at life. Play for me.
Okay, well, thank you. And I know you can't go into much detail about the analysis that led to the August 28th drone strike in Kabul in this open setting, but I would like to note my serious concerns and give you the opportunity to make any comment on how the American people can know that the military will be able to adequately assess targets before conducting future strikes and operations, even as we have even fewer local intelligence and surveillance resources to leverage.
Senator, again, the matter's under investigation, but what I can tell you broadly, and to restate some things I've said earlier, I am responsible for that. It happened in my area of responsibility, so I'm the responsible officer for that strike. Moreover, I was under no pressure, and no one in my chain of command below me was under any pressure to take that strike. We acted based on the intelligence read that we saw on the ground. We acted several times on intelligence that we saw, and we were successful in other occasions in preventing attacks. This time, tragically, we were wrong. And you're right to note that as we go forward and our ability to create what we call the ecosystem that allows you to see what's going on the ground and put all that together, it's going to get a lot harder to do that, particularly in places like Afghanistan. But I can share a little more with you later.
Well, thank you, General.
Well, thank you, General. No problem whatsoever. And Mackenzie's actually smiling. Oh, we'll get it better next time. Oh, tell the 10 people who are dead. Little kids who are dead. Oh, we'll get it better next time. And we're creating an ecosystem for intel. Oh, that's all better, right, Aaron? I mean, it's all solved then. We'll get it better. We'll do it better next time. That's what we always hear, isn't it? Just like we're not adding anything to the debt and deficit. It's all paid for. That's what we hear every time, isn't it? There it is. Yeah, there it is. Amazing. Mark Kelly's perfectly fine with that. No concerns. Oh, thank you, General. Appreciate it. But we kill drug runners, and he makes the seditious 6 video. They killed 10 completely innocent people on the ground in response to Abbey Gate, which was another debacle that, strangely, Mark Kelly had no problem with that debacle. No problem with $86 billion worth of high-tech American military equipment left on the ground to make the PLA the 26th largest army on the planet overnight. He had no problem with that whatsoever. None whatsoever. No problem whatsoever with it. Will brought this up. No problem. You want to talk about unlawful orders? What about the unlawful orders to make everybody get vaccinated in the military? It's an unlawful order because none of the vaccinations were FDA approved. In order for you to order an officer, or order a military personnel officer or enlisted to take that vaccination, has to be FDA approved. That's part of the military contract. They violated, but weird. Aaron, can you pull up all the videos of Mark Kelly protesting?
Oh, let me see.
He's getting them. He's getting them.
None.
There's none. Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on to another insurrection. Lives a TikTok video. Breaking California Attorney General Rob Bonta announces portal for people to dox and report ICE activity in order to protect illegals in their state and prosecute ICE agents. Play it for me.
I'm Rob Bonta, California Attorney General, and I want to say thanks for being here. We are here to announce a new tool that we are launching today to protect the rights, the safety, the dignity of all Californians throughout the state during a time of profound uncertainty and a time of profound fear. Today we're launching an online portal where members of the public can report potentially unlawful conduct by federal agents operating in our state. And we encourage Californians who have concerns about the law being broken, a federal officer breaking the law, to report to us so we can assess the information. Over the last 10 months, we've seen troubling reports coming from communities across California, including unmarked military-style vehicles and individuals detained in ways that resemble abductions and kidnappings more than lawful arrests. Californians are scared, and they're right to question whether federal agents are respecting the law as they carry out the Trump administration's aggressive, fear-driven immigration agenda. Our job at the...
All right, so let's just go over this real quick. So this is, my name is Rob Bonta, and I'd like to announce what do you call
online
it?
Portal.
An online portal for all of our citizens to dox ICE agents because of their illegal activities. Okay, thanks, Rob. Of course, another effeminate man. And in order for him to qualify to be a Democrat right now, you have to create the false propagandist narrative of ICE are committing crimes. Where? Show me the videos. They keep saying that ICE is marching around arresting brown people and arresting United States citizens. Where? Show it to us, please. I mean, if you are a Democrat and you're watching this, how do you stay a Democrat when all you do is lie? There is no American citizens ever being arrested by ICE. Believe me, they would have come out. Not one time has that ever happened. So that's not ever, do people get detained? Yes, that's, by the way, as a cop for 25 years myself, when you are on the scene of a criminal incident, you do have to detain the people around to keep everybody safe. That is just the way that it is. And it's perfectly lawful. And they're saying they're all running around, these ICE agents are running around mass. Well, that's because you continue to set up online portals to dox them, send out their addresses and their whatever activities that they're planning. And by the way, Will brought this up. Why is he not arrested? Take the chance. Arrest these people. This is absolutely obstruction of a federal officer. You cannot find out What a federal officer, what you can't find out about an ICE operation and then post it to the public. That's not legal. It's obstruction of a federal officer. So why is Rob Punta? Why is he even a free man? It's completely illegal. And again, how much of an increase has there been in violence towards ICE officers? 800% increase in assaults on ICE officers because of people like this. And not one thing he said kidnapping. Kidnapping? Yeah. Again, if you're a Democrat, you're okay with this? That one of your politicians comes out and espouses that ICE is kidnapping people? And you wonder why it is that we have a National Guard soldiers shot and killed in the streets of D.C.? Because of you. That's who you are. If you're a Democrat and you support ICE agents are out kidnapping people, no, they are arresting illegals. Well, they need a warrant. No, they don't. You have no idea what you're talking about. Most arrests are warrantless arrests. If you have probable cause that is the illegal that you've been looking for, then they can be arrested without a warrant. I love the videos of the Karens out on the street, whether they're male Karens or female Karens out on the street. Where's your warrant? Where's your ID? You don't have to give your ID, and you don't need a warrant.
Yep.
Most arrests are made without a warrant. Let me ask you this. If someone came up and punched you in the face, and there was a cop standing right there, does that cop have to go, oh, you know what? Let me go to a judge and make a couple phone calls. Let me go to a judge, secure a warrant so I can arrest the person who just punched you in the face. No, if they had to do that, the person who punched you in the face would have run off and you never see him again. No, you make the arrest right there. What's that called? Anybody know? Warrantless arrest. If you already have intel that person is illegal and they look like the person, and even if you make a mistake, you're still operating righteously and you confirm that it wasn't the person, doesn't matter. You don't need a warrant. But you have probable cause that person is illegal. You can make the arrest without a warrant. These people are so stupid. I mean, really, if you're a leftist, I don't even know how you look at yourself in the mirror because your entire narrative and agenda is built on bold-faced lies. Let me show you this one. Greg Price video breaking. Pramila, here's another genius. I mean, again, Aaron, can you side by side, how in the world are we led by these people? You got cuck boy to the right, fat chick to the left, and brainless wonder in the middle. Pramila Jayapal just announced a new bill to completely eliminate the ability of DHS, Kristi Noem, ICE, to Department of Homeland Security to detain illegal aliens. Eliminate the ability to detain illegal aliens. So I guess if illegal aliens break into Pramila's house, they can't be detained by ICE, right? To detain illegal aliens and require that illegals be given taxpayer-funded lawyers. Aaron, don't put it up. It's too complicated. But $38 trillion in debt, and now we're going to give everybody taxpayer-funded lawyers. It has over 123 Democratic Party co-sponsors in the House. Play it for me.
Today to say enough. Our Dignity for Detained Immigrants Act has a remarkable, unprecedented 123 original co-sponsors. Before we've even introduced it, 123 co-sponsors, and it overhauls the detention system. It drastically scales back the use of detention. It ensures that every single immigrant who is in detention has their human and civil rights protected. Our bill also phases out the use of private for-profit detention centers. It prohibits the detention of children and families and makes it harder to detain primary caregivers and vulnerable people like pregnant women or seniors or workers who are whistleblowing on unscrupulous employers. It requires DHS to allow members of Congress to do our jobs and conduct those unannounced inspections that hold these facilities accountable. As an immigrant...
Aaron brought up a very valid point while we were watching this video. He said, why is it that people who are not born in this country are allowed to represent us? I agree.
Yeah.
She's born in India. And as Will said, she needs to go back and enjoy India. Go back there. And it's just like, whether it's Ilhan Omar's completely... As you learned last night, Ilhan Omar is not, first of all, what we thought was she was a legitimate citizen and that she then married her brother to illegally have him migrate into the country. That's not it. That's totally true. All of that's totally true. But the part that isn't true is that she's ever been a citizen. She's never been a citizen. What she claimed is that she became a citizen under her father. Now, first of all, in order for that to happen, she'd have to be a minor. His citizenship happened after she became an adult. So she couldn't have been grafted in under that. And then she changed her date of birth 6 years ago. But now it also turns out that her father was never a citizen. So she says she became a citizen, she was a certified citizen because when you have a naturalized citizen come in and they become, not a naturalized citizen come in, you have a legal migrant comes in, becomes a naturalized citizen, his whole family gets grafted in, the minor children get grafted in. Well, he never became a citizen until after she was the age of 8, after she was 18. So she changed her date of birth 6 years ago. Changed her date of birth. But now deep research has been done. Her dad never became a citizen either, so she couldn't have been grafted in, so she's not a citizen. And then she married her brother as a citizen that she never was, so that he could become a citizen. All the while lying that he in fact was not her brother. So that's when now Jayapal here wants to eliminate the ability to detain any illegal alien. Okay, so I'm assuming then that we can, you don't have to ever worry about being recalled. We can now no longer have a military because if we get invaded, those are all illegal immigrants. We have no right to detain them. I mean, do you see how stupid these people are? It's just like Aaron said, you know what? Why are you even allowed to have a say in the United States of America? I mean, whether it's Ilhan Omar or Pramila Jayapal, who hate this country, why are you even allowed to have a say? All right, 10:15, that's it. I've got so much. I got stuff on Tim Waltz. I got more on Minnesota. I mean, the stuff on Minnesota is evergreen right now, so we'll hit it hard tomorrow. Rumble Rants tonight. Only one. Jules, 21 hours, $10. Thank you so much, Jules. Love you. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys in the rant. Appreciate you guys in the chat. Like and share, like and share, like and share. Create an account on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. We're also live on Twitter X, Elon Musk X. Make an account there. It helps us with our ratings. Trying to break through, try to get a much larger audience. Like and share, like and share. You have to admit the podcast is unique. There's no other podcast like it. But anyway, like and share as much as you can. Stick around for the post game. Nice and short. I'd say pretty laid back. You're going to love it. So stick around for the post game. Love you guys. Back here tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. God bless you.
Revelation 22:18-19. For I testify to everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this book. If anyone adds to these things, God will add to him the plagues that are written in this book. That's what goes on with people who want an accommodating message. I want to be understood. No. There's nothing in there in the Bible about God understanding. Here's God's commands. Do them or do not.
Have you ever had a question you were too afraid to ask? Or a thought you knew everyone was thinking but no one dared to say out loud? Welcome to the Hope Hotline, where nothing's off limits and we say what others won't. Real talk, raw truth, your questions finally answered.
Thanks for watching the Tom Laipply podcast. We appreciate your support. As a special thank you, when you donate $25 or more, you will get a free TLP koozie. Enjoy your favorite cold drink while tuning in to our latest takes on current events. Your support keeps us going. Donate now to claim yours.
And so, what do you think this is?
I think that it's a slave bracelet. I would like to think that my relatives helped to free the slaves, and that was one of the ones that they freed, or maybe they found. I think that this is the name of the slave holder and then the name of the slave underneath it. Am I right?
It's a dog collar.
You released a memo today that says global innovation is the key to limiting the damage. What innovation are you talking about? What's the number one priority? What do we have to innovate first?
Well, in the near term, it's the scaling up of testing and prioritizing who gets testing and getting the quick results. And then the final solution, which is a year to 2 years off, is the vaccine. So we've got to go full speed ahead on all three fronts.
Just to head off the conspiracy theorists, maybe we shouldn't call the vaccine the final solution. Maybe just the best solution. Okay.
Whalen's votes. I want to ask you, why not have the Coast Guard stop them, which it is empowered by law to do? You know, this way you can confirm who's on the boat and ensure that they're doing what you suspect.
Because we've been doing that for 30 years, and it has been totally ineffective.
They have faster boats. Some of these boats are seriously, I mean, they're world-class speedboats, but they're not faster than missiles.
A child has gone missing in Zorns, New York. We don't know what happened to him. He's probably been eaten by homeless people by now. God forbid he set foot in the Bronx or Harlem, then there'd be no saving him. He's probably in a bodega sharing chopped cheese and a large Snapple with his Dominican wife. Either that or he's in a pissy hallway rapping Where to Hood At by DMX. Is he the cat with the Kool-Aid on his lips and pumps? You may remember him as Kevin McAllister, a young patriot that we did a story on last year after he defended his home against 2 burglars, using nothing but paint cans and a blowtorch. Do these men still have testicles? The burglars in question are Harry and Marv, who recently just escaped from jail. Could you imagine if they ended up in New York City? It'd be like a bad movie sequel. Kevin was last seen at the Plaza Motel, where he was overheard asking a man for directions. The man responded, "Down the hall and to the left." This is a 9-year-old. Who the hell did that?
Thank you. Thank you. Is this your family?
This is.
This is a nice-looking family, huh?
Say hi.
Beautiful.
Can they stand next to you real fast?
Come on, let's go. Get over here. Look at that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is it safe to say that based off of your comments, you're suggesting that these women at these abortion rallies are ugly and overweight?
Yes.
What do you say to people who think that those comments are offensive?
Be offended.
Mm-hmm.